This program is called 3D Builder. It's a free program supplied by Microsoft Corporation. It is on my computer. I have Windows 10. If it's not on your computer and you have a Windows 10 computer, you can go to the Microsoft page and then download it. It's at the best price it possibly could be, free. This is where I import graphics, and it'll take the graphics for me and convert them into 3D files that I could use to 3D print and make patterns for the sandcasting that I do. This is the 3D Builder program. It shows down here the previous files that you have been working on, so that way if you want to quick load them, you can just go ahead and click on what you see right there. When you start a new file, just hit New Scene. Your Open Save button is the three bars over at the left-hand top. I just go to Open. Again, it will show some files that you previously worked on the left-hand column that you can click on to re-import quickly. This time we're just going to load image. Okay, so we're going to load image. Here's the peace sign that we're going to work on. We'll go ahead and open the peace sign. And here's this program, this part of the program that says method. What method would you like to use to import your picture into a 3D object? Right now it's set on to think that the lighter the color, the higher it should go, and you can see that where the peace sign was black is completely gone. We'll go ahead and just hit the inverse button, and now we see the peace sign. We see the peace sign and it's very sharp corners, which doesn't work really well for casting. So we can go up to method and choose height map. The height map will go ahead and make the black the tallest and the white the lowest. So we'll go ahead and smooth that out. And let me put this here so you can see the straight edges. And if we decide to smooth this object out, it'll give us more of a bevel. And now it has a bevel, so that way when it's sandcasted, it pulls out the sand a lot easier. We'll go ahead and import image. Computer's working on it. Now the image is imported, and now we can start working on it. So we can go to edit. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to click on the image first. Right now we have arrows. The arrows is just for moving the object around the board. It doesn't matter where you place it, because when you export it, as long as it's highlighted over here, that's what you'll get, and you can go straight to a 3D printing program and print that. So let's go to split. Some people like this split for if you have a pattern that needs to go in the cope and the drag, which means you're going to be able to lay the part down, fill the cope in with sand, and then flip it over, lay the other half part on it, and then finish your cope. And so this is very useful if you have a 3D part that you just need to split in half. It's also really good if I don't want this bottom part, which is a block. It's not useful. So we'll go ahead and move it up. And up here we have the selections to keep bottom, keep both. So we want to keep the top. So we'll go ahead and hit split. And now the computer is going to work on it. And it took the bottom off, so now it's pretty much done, and we'll go over to, I think it's object, and we have this button called settle, and it just drops it flat down. Don't forget to actually click settle. If you move the object, it actually falls weird and it's hard to reorientate, so we'll just go ahead and hit settle. So here's the object. It's imported from the graphic. Now the next thing we can do to it is we can resize it. This button down here is your scaling button, so we'll go ahead and click on that and grab it and pull it down. I don't like to really cast really deep objects because then you run into problems with the sand not pulling out correctly. So if you can get away with making a shallow object to 3D print for your pattern and cast, go for it. It just makes your casting a lot easier. And there we go. And to save the file, we can go over to the three bars again and click Save As. And then down here is your formats that you can choose. You can either choose an OBJ, which is compatible with my 3D printer slicer program, or you can do an STL. And so there you go. And then now you can import that. Another thing I want to show you now is how to modify the graphics so we can actually have the bottom on the graphic. So it'll be like a disc when we print it out. All right, this program is what I use to modify the graphics. It's Corel Paint Shop Pro Photo X2, which probably means nothing to you because it's a 10 to 15-year-old program and there's no point in using it or trying to find it other than it just does a blur, and that's what I need to do. Other programs that would be able to do this would be GIMP. GIMP is free, so if you can locate GIMP, if you don't have a photo editing program on your computer, I'm sure that will do that too. So let's go ahead and open up the file. We'll go ahead and open up the piece sign file. And we have the piece sign file opened up. And in the last time we did this, the white got cut out, and so we're going to make an actual bottom to it so that doesn't get cut out. And because it's a height map, we're going to add a little bit of color to the inside of the piece sign, and that'll keep it from cutting everything away when we cut the piece sign out, and we'll have a bottom to it and just a round circle piece sign. So we'll go ahead and click the fill, and we'll select a paint color, let's say that gray. I just use grays, don't use colors, and that way you can obviously see which is the lightest and which is the darkest. So here we go. Fill in each portion of the piece sign. And then now I'm going to make the piece sign smoother, and it's how we make it smoother is we'll give it a gradient. So we'll have these edges that fade out into each other. And it looks real bad and it looks like it's not going to work, but it will. So let's just go ahead and blur it out. So we'll go into Gaussian blur. Any blur really works. And we'll give it quite a bit of blur, so that way we have an edge that really curves over. Okay, that looks good about there. I'll hit OK, and then I'll save this as, we'll just save over this blur here that I did a while back. All right, so now we have the inside, which should actually be higher than the bottom, that when we cut it out, we'll have a piece sign that you can't see through. Okay, now we're back at 3D Builder. We'll just go into New Scene. And just like we did the other piece sign, this time we'll just open up our file that we just modified. Okay, there's our piece sign blur. Again, it's on contour, and we don't want contour. Contour just goes around and finds the edges, but we actually want a height map. Again, it did the height map, but it thinks black's the lowest, so let's go ahead and tell it to inverse. Now we have it switched. And now you can already see it has a little bit of a height map, but we want to smooth that out. So we'll just move the smooth all the way over. Wow, look at that. So now we have a nice contoured piece sign. And it should actually, yeah, you can see it. See the inside of the piece sign is elevated. And so that way when we cut the bottom off, we'll actually have a piece sign that's a solid object. So let's go ahead and import the image. Computer is working on it. All right, now that the image is imported, we can kind of inspect it, see what we're doing. And we'll go ahead and cut the bottom off of it, so we're just left with the piece sign to cast. I always get mixed up here. The reason why there's nothing to select is because I didn't select the part. So now that the part's selected, we'll go back to Edit, and we'll split. Again, if you had a part that you wanted to just cut in half, so you could put one in the cope and one in the drag and match up and then have a nice three-dimensional object, you could do that too. But in this case, we're just going to cut the piece sign out and put it in the drag upside down. So again, here you can choose where you want to cut it. If you want it to flare out quite a bit, because it looks like it flares out, or if you don't want it to flare out very much, just make sure you do it below the inside piece, so that when it splits, we'll have a piece that's not hollow in the middle. So let's click split. Now we'll go to the object and we'll tell it to settle, which means just basically drop it to the work platform. And now our part's done. Now we have a part ready to cast, and when you cast it, it'll have a center in it, unlike the first demonstration I showed you, which didn't. Again, sometimes I like to make things a little flatter so that way the sand doesn't get caught in so many areas. If you want it smoother or do a few extra things to it, it does have options there. I'm not going to go into the scope of what this program can actually do other than get you from a black and white clip art to a three-dimensional object ready to put in your slicer program. I hope this works for people, and it works for me pretty well. good luck, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click like if you appreciate the video. Thanks again.